of the Rebuttal. I am your host, Robbie A. Shaw, and this week I have my brother Chris Shaw joining me. Our other compatriot, CP, is not able to join us this week, but he should be back next week. Chris, we've had a few technical difficulties, but we're here to finally get this thing going. Besides that, how are you feeling?
We good. Let's get it going.
Let's get it on. So jump right into the games from last week. The first game on the docket was the Rams and the Packers. The Rams went into Lambeau Field and did end up losing 18-32. It was a closer game for the most part, if I remember correctly, in the beginning of the game, with eventually the Packers pulling away and taking the win at home. Any thoughts on this one? I know you had the Rams winning this game. I had the Packers winning this game, so I'm very happy about that. But outside of that, any thoughts on this game?
No, I'll keep my take short in the interest of time. So we all know that Aaron Rodgers is the man. He does need somebody to pass the ball to. Consequently, he passed the ball to a lot of people. One of them was Lazard. I didn't really know about this guy until last week. So, I mean, good for him for having him in the tuck until he needed him.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the game, honestly, if you look at it. Every time they threw the ball to this guy, just nobody – why is this guy open? Why is he there? I don't know. That was your man, you know. And once you get him doing that, I mean, the game's over.
Yeah. And they did have a really good running game as well, I think. And that always helps. If you're going to stop the Packers, you got to stop both the run and the pass. But I think, personally, if you're going to stop the Packers, stop the run. Because you won't stop the pass. But if you can keep them off the field – and you can keep them from taking all the clock, maybe you give yourself a chance. So,
yeah, I'd like to say salute to Cam Akers, too. Another game with almost 100 yards. That kid's going to be special. If he gets a really, really good offensive line or even just a better one than they have right now, I would see good things for him. So salute to him for being consistent, even in the playoffs as a rookie, because we all know no matter what level of professional football you play, it's going to be tough. So good for him.
Yeah, it's good for him. And the Packers are moving on, and we are moving on to the next game where we have the Ravens going into Buffalo to play the Buffalo Bills and end up losing in a surprising loss for me. I had said it last week that I thought the Ravens were going to run all over the Buffalo Bills. They did not. Leslie Frazier did decide to sell out and bring 8 and 9 people into the box to make sure that the Ravens did not run, and it worked. The Ravens were not able to run like they normally do. They were close at one point at the beginning of the third quarter where they were down 3-10 and were driving a nice 12-play drive, moving down the field. Lamar Jackson throws a pick in the end zone that gets run back for a touchdown, and no one scores again after that. He did ultimately get hurt, I think, on the next drive, was out of the game with a concussion. Robert Griffin III is out, and their other backup was out, so they were down to their fourth string quarterback, and it did not go very well. The Bills do move on 17-3. What are your thoughts about this one, Chris?
I mean, Bills played a great game. I don't want to say that they are just like, oh, yeah, Bills outscored them, they win. It wasn't really like that. Both teams were just having some technical difficulties kicking the ball through the goalpost. And I think that's a weird way to start a playoff game. None of y'all can even just put points on the board. Buffalo had 3 first quarter. Baltimore had 3 second quarter. And then Buffalo was just like, all right, then. Third quarter, let's get something going here. Now, I mean, look, let's be honest. CP had a really good take. I know he talked about Lamar Jackson's arm. We've all talked about his arm to an extent. How questionable it is. Sorry, Lamar Jackson fans. It is questionable because if you look at the pattern of things, he had an interception in both of the playoff games that they played. Both playoff games. Now, the first one was in the first half, so he was able to kind of shake that one off, and I know he didn't complete the game, but mindset-wise, it's hard to come back from that. Now you're up, team's up 17-3, Buffalo's up, and neither team scores in the fourth quarter. Do we see Lamar Jackson score 2 touchdowns in the third and the fourth quarter, or at least, touchdown, field goal or something to win the game? We don't know, but he wasn't there, so we can't call stuff that we don't know about.
I'm not even going to try to defend him because he's a Raven. So I had a few thoughts about it. I do know that with a team like that that doesn't have that many good receivers, and I've said it a few times in the show, where your leading receiver is your tight end, that's going to be. It's not like Kansas City's leading receiver tight end situation where they still have Tyreek Hill and they still have the Cole Hartman and they still have those other guys. It's just your tight ends in Baltimore are it. Willie Snead and Des Bryant. Yeah, I'm good. And that's what really Buffalo did. The Ravens were not able to spread them out. They were not able to get running lanes. Buffalo played very sound defense. They played scheme defense, and they stuck to their gaps. They didn't get caught out of position a lot, and that's what leads to those big runs happen when somebody's out of position, or they turn in their back and they're looking the other way, and they don't play sound fundamental football. Buffalo looked like they played fundamental football that day, and they ended up winning 17-3. Hats off to them. And now that leads us to our third game from last weekend, the Browns and the Chiefs, which was, I think, one of the best games of the week. It had intrigue. It had drama. It had highs and lows. It had Patrick Mahomes getting a concussion. Had so many different things. But at the end of it, Chad Henne with a 14-yard run and then a 1-yard pass on fourth down, or a 3-yard pass on fourth down. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs end up winning. They are now in the AFC Championship game, and they will host the Buffalo Bills tomorrow. Well, actually, Sunday. They will host them on Sunday, and Sunday night it will be the last game of the weekend. Chris, your thoughts on this Browns and Chiefs game, where I must say the Browns, this game was closer than I thought it should be, honestly.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Chiefs, again, we can't talk about what we don't know about. Patrick Mahomes plays a full game. Who I don't think they just scored 22 points, personally. Mm-hmm. But I also don't see them allowing the Browns to go 14-3 in the second half. I don't see them allowing that either. Mm-hmm. They do have a good defense. It's not talked about that much. Honey Badger's over there. That's one of my favorite players over there in Kansas City. But also, do we see a different game if Myles Garrett plays every snap? He wasn't doing too well out there either.
That's true.
So I want to say that it's hard to really summate both teams as being in their best shape at that time. But we know that you play the hand that you're dealt, right? So, yeah, Patrick Mahomes goes down. Baker Mayfield show now. Let's see what you can do. He had Nick Chubb. He had, all the same guys he always had on offense. That didn't change. So the defense ain't the ones that really are the ones that's going to put points on the board historically for the Browns this season. That's not their MO. Mm-hmm. But they do play hard-nosed football, and that could hurt you in the end if you're a physical team. You can get hurt too. Yeah. So I mean, Myles Garrett, he didn't play he played some. He didn't play all the snaps, but I feel like he was a difference maker when he was out there. And at the end of the day, hey, Chad Henne. I gotta give it to him. What can you say? Yeah. What can you say that hasn't already been said? Nobody expected that type of performance, but
nobody did.
It was there,
and it was there. And to your point, I feel like there's two things that are happening in the playoffs now. We have teams that we're not talking about slouch teams. We're not talking about middle of the pack teams. We're talking about teams that have had a winning record all season, who have come and have beaten some other teams to get to where they are. So you have to expect scores to be tighter, scores to be closer as team, because now we're dealing with the best of the best in each of these situations. And I wasn't surprised that the Browns defense played that well, but was a little bit, and I don't know if this really had anything to do with it, but I feel like Kansas City's offense just didn't look like they were in rhythm. And the thing about Kansas City is they may have some slow starts, because we know in the past playoffs, especially last year, they were down every game, and then they came out and won. They had a first-round bye last year. They had a first-round bye this year. And I don't know if that has something to do with why they're having these slow starts, because I really feel like their offense really didn't get going, because their offense kind of – you expect a Patrick Mahomes-led team to put up more than 22 points. And then a lot of those drives were the Chiefs were moving and just weren't putting up touchdowns. They were putting up 3-point field goals. Mm-hmm. And that was the difference. And I think Buckner missed one, And so that score could have been even 25-17. But usually Kansas City is a team, especially at home, that goes down the field and is going to put points, 7 points instead of 3. And that's what makes them so good, is that's what separates them from everybody else. But that Browns defense is no joke. That Browns defense does come to play when Myles Garrett is there. They have a few other pieces that also really work well together. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I at least thought the Chiefs were going to put 30 on them. I really thought they were.
It would have been nice.
It would have been nice, especially since the Browns did us dirty. But they didn't. But they do. Hey, the playoff mantra, survive and advance. They survived. They advanced. Chad Henne did his part, even though he almost threw the Browns back into the game with that horrible interception. But somehow at the end of the day, they get the job done.
Two guys, and then we can move on. But two guys we didn't talk about. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Dangerous.
Absolutely.
Hoping to see them against whomever this next, the games we'll talk about. But both of them, 8 catches, over 100 yards, averaging at least 14 yards per catch. How are you going to stop that? Who going to stop that? I haven't seen that put up yet in these playoffs by any other team.
That's true. And now the next team, the team they're going to, Buffalo is going to have to decide how they're going to stop that. And with Leslie Frazier in that defense, the show they put on, I don't know. But moving on to the next, we'll get into that actually in a little bit. The next game that was played this weekend was a surprising game for me, but not really because I picked the Buccaneers to win this game. It was the Buccaneers going into New Orleans and defeating the New Orleans Saints 20-30 in what I believe will ultimately be Drew Brees' swan song. Because if you looked at some of those throws, and someone broke it down this week in a way that I was really appreciated, is they were saying that Tampa Bay must have seen something because they covered everything in the middle. They pushed everything to the middle. The defenders were to the middle of the field. Everything inside the hash marks, inside the numbers, they were not going to give him. And they were going to give him the stuff outside the numbers. They wanted Drew Brees to throw outside the numbers, and he wasn't able to. 2 of his interceptions were throws that were outside the numbers. He didn't get the ball there in time. The ball was picked off. One of them was Jared Cook. Was it Jared Cook who had that huge fumble? Because I remember I was watching the game, and the Saints had the ball, and they had a chance to go up 17 at that point. Because they were up, 14 at that point. They were up 7. They had just stopped Tampa Bay. They got the ball back. They throw it to Jared Cook, and then he fumbles the ball. And what does Tom Brady do? Take that ball down the field and score, and now it's 10-10. There's a 14-point swing. And then I feel like after that, that's when Drew Brees is pressing, trying to make these throws, can't make the throws, to be honest. And that's when Tampa Bay jumps all over them. And now Tampa Bay is in an NFC Championship game. Who would have thought that? Other than me, because I said Tom Brady is not going to win.
Yeah, you said they were going to win. I can't wholeheartedly just say, well, it was Tampa Bay's game to win or the Saints game to lose. I think that they both came to play. I think that Drew Brees likes to throw the ball down the middle. He's done that a lot in the playoffs. He did that last game, and I think good observation on the defensive side of things, like you said, to make some adjustments and get in that. Because, 3 interceptions, getting the game off of 3 interceptions. We saw what happened. Rest in peace, Ben Roethlisberger. We saw what happened when you're in the playoffs and a team can capitalize on your mistakes. And those were mistakes. Those were not, just like, oh, oops, I didn't mean to throw it there. No, he intentionally threw the ball where he wanted it to go, and they were just ready for it. Yeah. You have to give them credit. I didn't think about maybe I did. I don't remember my take from last week, but
you said it was the Saints game to lose.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest.
They did.
Yeah, they did lose it though.
They did lose it. Yeah. I don't think Tampa Bay took it from them. I feel like they lost it, and that's why they didn't win.
Right. Maybe that's kind of the general theme here. What are you willing to? What have you given up? What have you lost? And how are you going to get it back? You can't make mistakes on a team that's led by Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a good quarterback, and he does have enough weapons. He knows how to capitalize on your mistakes. Yes. He always does, and he knows exactly when. Okay, guys, this is the drive. We got to push it. We got to do what we have to do. So if we don't score here, we know what's going to happen. He's similar to the way LeBron thinks in terms of just like game IQ. Um, he's always seems like he's looking towards the next thing. What are we going to be able to do? How much do we need to put up? I mean, whatever it is, he's obviously doing it because he has enough rings to show that he knows what he's doing. So, yeah, if it is Drew Brees' swan song bye, we really appreciated what you did for the Saints.
Absolutely.
To me, you put the Saints back on the map.
And Sean Payton.
Right, and what he's done is legendary. Outside of the game and in the game, he's done great work in their community as well, in New Orleans. So great job, fine career. 3 interceptions probably not the way you want to go out, but hey, man, you played better games than that. We've all seen them. So
I do hope it's the way Ben wants to go out with his 4 interceptions because as much as I love him, I do not want to see him back. So now all of these games set up this week's game. We only have 2 this week's games. We only have 2 games this week. It will be Tampa Bay going into New England. Sorry. Oh, that's a reflex. It will be Tampa Bay going into Green Bay to play the Packers, and it will be Buffalo going into Kansas City to play the Chiefs. These 2 games I am having a lot of trouble calling because I want to say that Tampa Bay and Green Bay game, if I'm sticking to what I've been saying, then Tom Brady is going to go into Lambeau Field and beat Aaron Rodgers. But even saying that, it's one thing to say that Tampa Bay is going to go into New Orleans and win. It's a completely different thing to say that Tampa Bay is going to go into Green Bay and win. If you just take the cold part to begin with, it should be cooler in Green Bay than it would be in Tampa Bay. But at the same time, come on, man. This is 2 legendary players. And if Tom Brady goes in there and wins this game, if anyone was questioning whether or not he's the greatest quarterback of all time, I feel like that's all Tom Brady's doing. Tom Brady is writing more chapters at the end of this book. So many people buried this man last year when he was having trouble with New England. So many people said it was time to hang it up. He goes to a stacked team in Tampa Bay but had a horrible record because Jameis Winston was throwing it to everybody but his own players.
Right.
And now you give him a good quarterback. They are now, I don't even know what their record is. Their record was 11-5, and they're just moving on. They're moving on. But at the same time, it's Aaron Rodgers at home. And I feel like you can Aaron Rodgers at home is a lot to overcome.
Sure.
I feel like, you know what? I've been sticking with Tom Brady. I got to keep going. That man has burned us, like I said. His first season in the NFC, he's in the NFC Championship game. I don't see it ending here. I think the Packers lose at home to Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay goes to the Super Bowl. As much as that hurts me to say, I really think that's what's going to happen. Chris, what's your take?
I feel like that was a little disrespectful to Aaron Rodgers.
It's not. It's just the greatness of Tom Brady right now.
I hear what you're saying in terms of the greatness of Tom Brady. And, I can respect that. Let me talk to the greatness of Aaron Rodgers for a moment. I've seldom seen Tom Brady. Let's just do a quick comparison. I've seldom seen Tom Brady throw a ball to a tight end that before I didn't know who this guy was, catch the ball, tippy toes, keep the ball in bounds, and the Packers won that game. We won't reference the game. I think we both know which game we're talking about. It was a championship game, way back when, probably maybe some 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Oh, and that went to the corner. Was it Dallas though?
It may have been Dallas.
Yeah, I think it was in Dallas.
Yes, and that I never really wanted to give Aaron Rodgers credit. He's a bad man. All this other stuff that people used to say, and I used to be like, man, whatever. He's just a quarterback, bro. He got to throw it to somebody, right? But when I saw that, it made me think he got to be able to get the ball there. My man, he's running, but he got to get it to him. Mm-hmm. And the accuracy, he was jumping around that pocket, doing all the things that he does. Same thing he did last week. Mm-hmm. Every time I think a play is dead, Aaron Rodgers lets me know that the play is not dead until he says it is. Right. And that's difficult for any defense who's trying to shut him down or throw him off of his rhythm, because it seems like it's impossible to do so. You can sack him as many times as you want to try to, but it's really hard to get to him because he will run if he has to, but more than likely he's got 50 million targets in his mind, and he seems to always know where they are.
Right.
Um,
Right. I'll give you that.
so I mean, I would like to just that is greatness, and Tom Brady
Mm-hmm.
and him have I think that same sort of championship DNA. They both are champions.
Right.
So I don't really want to hang it on them. I do want to say, how are they going to use the weapons that they have? Now, I feel like
The
Aaron
same
Rodgers.
way they've been using them all
Yeah, but
season
I feel like
long.
he can. I feel my point is this: I feel like Aaron Rodgers can use less weapons to win a game than Tom Brady typically does. Tom Brady spread the
Mm-hmm.
ball out. He had 8 players at least have one catch last game
Mm-hmm.
when he needed it, so he can do that, and that's great. But I think that Aaron Rodgers is better at just finding who he needs to find when he needs to find them. I think it's not the defense determining where he throws the ball. I think it's him. I do think that's different than what Tom Brady does. I think Tom Brady just takes what you're giving him and he's going to get the ball to him because he's
Right.
confident in the receivers. But outside of that, you've got to be able to run the ball. Leonard Fournette is great, but I mean, I don't see him putting up spectacular numbers this postseason.
What did he put up last week?
Last game,
Yeah. I
we
felt
can
like
talk about it.
he was like 80 something
He
yards.
was 63 yards.
63. Okay. I don't know
Yeah,
why it
for a
seems
guy like that,
yeah.
I mean, that's respectable.
Well, yeah, they did split carries between him and Ronald Jones. Too.
Right. Right. And Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams split carries last game on the Packers side of things. Aaron Jones almost had 100 yards. Jamal Williams about 65. So they do have a balanced attack, I think. I think both teams maybe have a balanced attack, but I do think Tom Brady leans more toward I think Buccaneers are going to lean more towards the pass.
Mhm.
So while it's easy to say, oh, you can just stop the pass and you'll beat them, that's not true. But Antonio Brown's going to be out next game.
Mhm.
That is a factor because I think he does, if given a chance, he can step up in big games. He did it for the Steelers many times.
Mhm.
And so I have to go with what I know. I can't go against Tom Brady as much as I would like to, but I can go against him on this.
I'm still waiting for him to tell me which
No,
way he's
sorry.
going.
I was just explaining my reasons why, but
No, I get it. But I was like, the reasons why I was feeling like the reasons were going both ways. And I was like,
no, I always like to give both of them their respect, unless I really think it's
Right.
just get out of here. But I really do think this is Aaron Rodgers' home. He knows how to play here. He always majority of the time he plays here. He knows the climate. These guys have been playing well all postseason.
Mhm.
30 to put up 30 points in the playoff game is not easy against a really good team. And they did that. They played well last game, and I think they're riding that momentum right into the sunset. I think they're going to the Super Bowl. That was my predictions. I think when we started.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I'm not gonna defer from that. I'm thinking Packers are gonna take them. Now the score.
Yeah, I don't even try to put scores anymore. I've just given up on that.
It's like you never really know.
Right.
But I'm thinking. Let me say this. I can't give you an exact score, but I think they're whatever team wins, they're gonna win by 3 points. I don't think it's gonna be some huge blowout.
Yeah. And I can see that because it's gonna be a shootout. If it gets going, it's gonna be a shootout. But I think the Packers, one thing you did mention, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams over 150 yards between the two of them. I think that is a bigger thing than, and like I said earlier, if you're gonna stop the Packers, you can't just load up and stop Aaron Rodgers. You got to stop the run too because those guys will get loose. So for me, I definitely feel like, like I said, Tom Brady's gonna win. But only because it's the legend of Tom Brady, and this is what the NFL wants. And if you want to believe all the conspiracies, whatever, but I do think that Tom Brady, we've got to give him credit until someone knocks him off.
Yeah,
You gotta give him that until, and I'm not even saying like knocks him off as far as the Super Bowl, because I will say this: Tampa Bay wins. As much as I'd like to stick with my conspiracies, if they go up against Kansas City, I don't think Tampa Bay wins that game. I do not. I think if Tampa Bay gets past this game and plays Buffalo, I can see them beating Buffalo, but I can't see him beating Kansas City. So, and that brings us to our next game, which will be the final game of the season. It will be the Sunday night game. It will be, I think, on NBC. I'm really looking forward to this one. Even though I don't really like the NBC cameras as much as I like the CBS cameras. I meant to talk about that one week. The Fox cameras are different from the NBC cameras and the CBS cameras and the ESPN cameras. It's like, I don't know what y'all are doing, but you can literally look at one of these games without knowing what channel it's on, and I could tell you what channel it's on. It's crazy.
He's almost blowing his excellence all over those CBS. He said, I do this. I don't know about quarterback, but I does this.
Man, Tony Romo I love watching his games. Him and Jim Nantz, they got a good thing going. That's why they paid him all that money to bring him back. And I think CBS will have this game. Like I said, if it's not NBC, because it's a night game, CBS will have it. And I think if NBC has it, actually, let me just go ahead and look just to make sure, because I'm literally looking at the website. It doesn't say, hold on a minute. It's on Fox. The NFC Championship is on Fox, which I expect. And let's see how good I am. The AFC Championship is on CBS. Wow. So that means NBC has the Super Bowl. Yes. So, yeah. So, this game in Kansas City, Buffalo Bills 13-3 up against the 14-2 Kansas City Chiefs. This is number 1 in the AFC versus number 2 in the AFC. I'm going to let you go first. Who do you have winning this game and why?
Okay, so we're talking about the Bills and the Chiefs.
Yep.
Okay, if Patrick Mahomes does play, which it looks like all signs point.
Point to yes.
I got the Bills as my Cinderella.
Woo!
Got the Bills as my Cinderella.
That's a hot take.
every time that I think that I go with my heart and I say, nah, the Bills got this. And then I start watching some of the game and I'm like, ooh, come on.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ooh. I cringe the entire time, but
yes,
they win. They win. It's almost like you're waiting for the shoe to drop. That's what you don't really, you hope that it doesn't, but you're waiting for it to happen.
It's like many Steelers games, many Steelers games.
Listen, at least as a Giants fan, we know we've lost already. We don't even.
Y'all had a nice little run when Daniel Jones wasn't throwing picks.
Yeah, and I mean,
and then he started.
And then he tripped.
He had like 6.
So, just
that trip with no one around.
No one around.
That was a microcosm of the season.
But talk about Trip. Listen, talk about Trip. I think that I'm right in saying this because I checked the stats. Stephon Diggs has over 100 yards in each playoff game they've played. And we talked about that. I'll keep that theme going. That wide receiver quarterback connection is a big deal. Also, their secondary is not to be slouched upon. Not that we didn't already talk about how Lamar Jackson's arm is questionable, but at the same time, you got to catch the ball. You could bat the ball up. You could do all kind of things. Get your, but he was waiting. He watched him, and that was a clean pick.
It was a bad read, though, because when you read it, the tight end is going out, and that's really where he should – or someone was going out, and then someone was coming in behind him. And the defender literally sat in the middle of the ball.
No, he just waited. Yeah,
he waited. Yeah.
Also, I don't want to take away from the Bills on that only because that is Lamar Jackson's lack of maturity on the throwing side of quarterback skills. Because I know I also saw a man wide open on the left as that play, and he did not throw that ball. And the dude was like, all right, well, I guess we're going the other way.
I think I saw that too. Because he kind of stared down, I think it was his tight end, because that's his...
wanted him to have the ball, and I think that's immature. So you can't really... You're getting paid millions of dollars, man. You got to just make the pass.
But I don't know if it's immature or you think that guy is your guy that makes you feel comfortable to throw him the ball in any situation. But
if it was Tom Brady... keep going it to the open man.
Good point. Very good point.
So I'm saying there's obviously some type of the connection that he had there was not. It was to his detriment.
Yep, I agree
But I
100%.
do
So,
think ultimately that was the Bills' game to kind of show what they could do. And I don't think that they disappointed. It was a rough game to watch. And it only got exciting really in the third quarter.
yeah.
But other than that, I think to take a team like Baltimore and to contend with them the way that they did, whether they missed field goals or not, the score would have been super low and they would have still been in the game halftime before those 14 points came up. So I think that they are facing a beast in the Chiefs. They are a beast, and it's hard to root against them. But I gotta look at Buffalo and say that no team has really been ready for. They have the intangibles, and they're just that team that just fights.
So you got the Buffalo Bills.
It's hard to say. I never thought I would ever say that, but they fight. I mean, it starts from the quarterback all the way down. These guys are scrappers. They're in there, and they all look really committed to winning. And I think that's hard to beat. Now, yeah, I think I won't talk about the Chiefs because I have a lot of respect for them. But the reality is, I just don't think. I think they could have lost that game last week. As much as I want to say, yeah, they beat them, and everybody knew they were going to beat them and beat them and beat them. It didn't always look like they were going to beat them. And I think that's goes to what you say. It just didn't look like they were in rhythm, the way that they normally look like. So if they come in this game out of rhythm and Patrick Mahomes may be thrown off from that, maybe he's tentative about taking hits because of that concussion, which, by the way, good Lord, when I saw him go down, I was like, hey, get him back up. I don't know about you.
It didn't look like that hard of a hit. The first hit wasn't. It was the roll after with his neck bent.
I was like, oh.
That was the bad one. Because you see, if you watch the replay, he's holding the ball in his hand when he first gets hit. When he rolls over, that's when suddenly the ball just drops out and the lights are out. So it was something to do with a nerve or something. It was that roll was the part that did it. And you're like, oh, there it is. Because he was fine. He was still holding on to the ball with the first hit. It was a roll after that. But I want to tell you guys a story while I have a moment with you. A little parable of a team called the Pittsburgh Steelers who played excellent defense and were winning close games during the season. And Ice came on the show and said it felt hollow. I said, yes, they were 11-0, but we weren't winning the way 11-0 should win. I said that with my dad when we talked last week. I also said that the Chiefs felt real when they were 12-1 versus when we were 11-1 or when they were 11-1, whatever their score was. They felt like, yes, this is a real team. Granted, the Chiefs did have a few close games as well. Yep. But even in those close games, you felt like the Chiefs were going to pull it out. And then I'm going to tell you that parable of the Steelers, who played a lot of close games but were ultimately defeated, looks a whole lot similar to the parable of this Buffalo Bills team. Because I will say this, in these playoffs, at the end of each of these games, not really the end, there have been periods in both of these games, like you said, where you're looking at Buffalo like, they're going to, and then they squeak by and win. I would say, because of the score of their last game, that they only won because of that interception. Let's say nothing else changes. I'm saying this on purpose. Nothing else changes, and Baltimore doesn't throw that pick, but they kick a field goal. Nothing else changing, Buffalo would win that game 10-6. Mm-hmm. That is not a score that makes me feel confident for a team in the playoffs. Even the 17-3 doesn't feel like a very confident win. And then I'm going to go one step further. Everyone knows that in order to beat the Chiefs, you have to run the ball. Let me present to you the run totals from the Buffalo Bills from last week.
Oh, man.
We have a total of 32 rushing yards from the Buffalo Bills last week. 7 rushes for Devin Singletary for 25 yards.
Wait, hold on. Are we talking about the last game against the Ravens?
Yeah.
That's not correct. Wait, hold on. Okay,
I'm like, according to NFL.com, that is correct.
I was really hoping I wasn't looking at the right stuff.
Yeah, so it was 25 yards for Singletary, 4 yards for Yeldon, and 3 yards for Josh Allen. But this the part that really is concerning to me is this. Josh Allen with 7 carries for 3 yards. Devin Singletary, 7 carries for 25 yards. TJ Yeldon, 2 carries for 4 yards. So we have a total of 16 carries, 16 rushes, and that's how they won the game. If you think 16 rushes for 32 yards is going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, you're crazy. You are crazy. There is no way you give, I want to go a step further. I want to look at the time of possession really quick, if they have it here. The time of possession was Baltimore 35 minutes, Buffalo 24 minutes. If you think you give Kansas City 11 more minutes with the ball, you think Buffalo is going to beat Kansas City?
Hurt. Never mind.
Not going to happen. If Buffalo plays, and the thing is, I'm not even saying it because of Buffalo's last game, because that was a different kind of game. It was really, you could tell it was going to be a knockdown, drag out kind of a game. It wasn't going to be a high scoring game. But when we take that game and we add it to the game the week before against Phillip Rivers, who put up 24 points and almost beat them had a drive at the end of the game where he could have beat them if they had another timeout.
That's true.
Buffalo reminds me a lot of the Steelers right now. And I'm not saying that they're going to do the same thing, but Buffalo is getting by with 2 home games that they easily, not necessarily the Ravens game, but definitely that Colts game, easily could have lost. I do not see them now on the road playing better. No, they're not beating Kansas City. They're not. And I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout by Kansas City, but I tell you this. If they give the Kansas City Chiefs the ball for 35 minutes, they are not going to win that game.
Yeah, but that's also to say that Mahomes is going to stay out there the whole time too.
I'm not worried about the points, how many points they win by. Because if Mahomes isn't out there all the time, that means that they have run up the score so much that he doesn't need to finish the game.
Go sit down in a second. I would love for the Bills to win. But okay, so you're making a lot of points here.
I am.
Not going to just ignore them. And I also am starting to think, well, can they even beat Tampa Bay or Green Bay at all?
Bills?
Yeah.
I don't think they
can beat. I feel more confident about them beating the Chiefs than I do about them beating the Packers or the Bucks. So hey, listen. Sorry, Buffalo. I really was thinking. Not about to take this L. Listen, y'all gonna take the L for me. This is not gonna happen. Sorry.
I mean,
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to give it to them, but no.
And it's just looking at the numbers. Like we know, with Patrick Mahomes not playing, but if you give Chad Henne the ball 35 minutes, I don't even see you beating them. It'll be a much closer game. But the Chiefs, remember there was a game where the Chiefs played when they just literally ran the ball more because they wanted to prove that they could run the ball. They said, you're going to stop the pass? That's cool. And I think it was against Buffalo, but I'm not 100% sure, in week 6 earlier this season. And they said, you know what? You want to play that game? Fine. We're going to run the ball on you. And I think as a team, they ran for like over 150-something yards. I was going to try to find it, but I do know this. The Chiefs can play a running game if you make them. If you want to play that game where you're just going to stop the pass and they got to run on you, the Chiefs can line up and run on you. They proved it in the season on purpose. But yeah, I really don't see Buffalo going into Kansas City. I mean, it could be a shocker. It could be that Buffalo plays a perfect game and goes in there and beats Kansas City, and we'll all be shocked, and then we'll have Buffalo in the Super Bowl. So all those people from the Jim Kelly days can get really excited for them to lose to whoever comes out of the NFC. Like, that's exactly what will happen if Buffalo gets in. And I'm not looking forward to that because I think, hey, Kansas City gets in, it's going to be exciting. And I would love to see Kansas City win 2 Super Bowls back-to-back. What? That would be some fun. But, yeah. So right now, we both have, I think you flipped back from the Buffalo bandwagon. You jumped back on the Kansas City bandwagon.
It just was irrational. I wasn't that's stupid.
It was irrational. I'm not saying that it can't happen because on any given Sunday, any given team, blah, blah, blah. But
yeah.
I will be I won't even be surprised. I'll be shocked. You know, like when the Steelers lost to the Browns, I wasn't shocked. I was not surprised either. I was like, this is right. But if Kansas City loses at home to Buffalo, I will be shocked. But anyway, and then so you have Kansas City and you have the Packers in the Super Bowl. I ultimately have Tampa Bay winning, not because I want them to, but because it's Tom Brady. And like I said, until y'all put him in a casket, put him 6 feet under, and put cement on top of that, that man is still going to make somebody upset. He coming for the crown, baby. They said it. I saw a meme this week, and when I went to work one day, somebody else said it, that Tom Brady's been in the NFC 1 year, isn't in the NFC, and he's in the NFC Championship game. Dallas has been in the NFC for so long. Hasn't been to the NFC Championship game in like 24 years or something like that.
Anyone's surprised?
If I could find it, I'm going to put it up because I feel like even my telling it wasn't as good as it could have been. It was just that 1 year for Tom Brady is
that's all it
special.
took.
That's all it took. That's all it took. That's all it took.
So I'm still trying to get it.
It's Tom Brady, man. When you're the GOAT, it don't matter. When you're the GOAT. And I would never call him the GOAT. I thought Joe Montana and Steve Young and them, but they weren't even doing it at this clip. They weren't doing it at this clip. And Tom Brady will take a bunch of misfit toys and turn them into a Super Bowl contender. A bunch of receivers you never heard of that as soon as they leave this team are no longer good or were crap before they got here, and then suddenly they're good. Yeah. No one else is doing that.
He's the Jordan of quarterbacks.
He really is. Take your Scott Burrells and the rest of them, and they're going to make them a champion. Your Bill Cartwrights, you're going to make them a champion.
If I could be Cartwright, that was how I sang it. Everybody else.
But that's our show for today. We've got all our scores in. We've talked about a few things. And next week, we will be talking about the Super Bowl. We will be talking about whoever wins this week's games going to the Super Bowl to represent their respective conferences in a game that could be really good if it's the Packers and the Chiefs, or a game that could be less good if it's the Chiefs and the Bucks, or a game that could even be less good if it's the Bills and anybody. So
I'm sorry, I'm not watching that.
Bills and anybody, Chris is like, I'm not going to watch it. Which will be good because I got to start. I was going to take the day off after the Super Bowl, but now I'm not. So if it's a garbage game, that might not work out so bad for me. But that is our show for today. Chris, thanks again for joining me. We've had a few technical difficulties today, but we pushed through, gave the people quality show, a quality show. And now,
that's cool.
Yeah. Gave them a quality show, and now we're moving on to get ready for next week. Any parting words you'd like to give to the fine people watching at home?
No. I said everything I needed to say, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. I just want to see who's gonna win.
Yes,
that's exciting. And thank God, man, the NFL, man, gave me something to do on Saturdays. Still now. You know, if there is an NBA show, if we ever do discuss the NBA at some point, there's a lot to discuss, and there's a lot going on there. But
I feel like you should have that show, and then we can put it on that channel, Planet Robb, because I don't think he'll. Anybody
wants to debate me about basketball? That's something I know a whole lot about.
Oh, hey, I might have to do that. I saw that your Knicks beat my Warriors the other day. I think it was yesterday.
Yes, we did.
And I was not very happy about that, especially after we just beat the Lakers and we blew out the Spurs. So I was like, here we go.
Yeah,
no.
That was nice. Nice. But we beat y'all. Prior to that, we shellacked the Celtics.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
30-point win.
Wow. And now the Knicks are at 500. So
that's right. How many times in the past 5 years have you been able to say that?
Not many, unless
it's Carmelo era.
Unless it's at the beginning of the season where everyone's 0-0. So
what do you mean? Right. No tanking this year. these young guys really got it going. But that's another topic for another show.
Yeah. And thanks again for joining me, Chris. Thanks you all who sat through and made it through this episode. I appreciate you every single week that you do it. I hope you all will join us next week to discuss the Super Bowl and discuss whoever wins these games, and also look back on the game itself, discussing how the people got there or how the teams got there. We really enjoy doing this. We're glad you enjoy watching this, and I hope you all will be right back here next week on The Rebuttal as we discuss the Super Bowl preview. That's all for now. Take care.